guys really need to step up to prove their worth on this team.
We'll see who gets the respect bans to start things off. That Rakan initiation does get taken out by Phoenix1, and Zach, as we should see, 7.11 here, 7-11, so we could see some different stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Big gulp patch right here. We have the Rakan being banned, and that was something that Smoothie mentioned being a problem for Cloud9, in the fact that they couldn't really do anything because the opponent had too much engage. Elise is another pick that has a lot of engage and a lot of power on this patch, so you can see just kind of across the board, a lot of the initiation getting banned out by both sides.
Nori as well trended to an Elise last week. It's interesting to see them take it out themselves. Feels comfortable going on. Maybe the Olaf, both of these have played. We can see that going back and forth as Galio finds himself taken out. We've seen a lot of Talia comps or dive comps coming and use the Galio recently.
Yeah, one thing that's interesting here is that the Kennen and the Fiora are remaining generally unbanned. Ray, at least in the past, has been known as a carry top laner. They're trying to move him a little bit more towards tanks, but they generally use him as the sword, so to speak, when he's up in the top lane. So a Fiora or a Kennen coming in early for him would be pretty likely, since it doesn't appear to be there in the ban phase.
There's a Caitlyn, a little respect to the bot lane. Zig was actually giving Kled in their game versus Immortals. One after the other, they were able to kind of knock that down quite easily.
Yeah, Zig, obviously Phoenix1, 1-2 in both of their series, so a 2-4 game score overall. Was 0-2 with that Kled, but locks in the Gragas for the first time this split.
Cloud9 to answer with the Kennen, something Ray has already had in his hands. They do have a game win on that Galio in the top lane. So back to a Kennen, they have not seen that victory on just yet, but still feel like it brings about a strong composition.
Yeah, not a big surprise there that Kennen was banned. Interesting, though, that Phoenix1 banned Kennen in all 6 of their games last week, but decided to leave it up against Ray, who's one of the most likely to pick it, even though they didn't find success the one time they did, and then Thresh rounds it out with some initiation utility.
Maybe feeling good about that Gragas pick. If they can get it first, bounce Kennen out of the fights, we will see what happens. Thresh has seen himself on the ban list quite a bit, and now with playmaking supports coming back into the mix, he's getting picked a lot more too.
Yeah, a big reason for that resurgence is the fact that AD carries are starting with this overtuned Doran shield that gives you so much regen down in that bottom lane. So the poke from someone like Karma doesn't feel quite as devastating. We're going to get to see that play out here as Phoenix1 is still with the standard Karma.
Shields, or at least one so far for Arrow, as there are a few more left on the board if they do go with an Orianna towards the end of this composition. On the side of P1, 1 second left. It looks like they'll lock in that Xayah as they banned out the Rakan. They wanted that pick on the ADC.
Yeah, Xayah's still a fairly popular marksman pick, even if not paired with Rakan. It is something Sneaky tried to play twice last week to not very much success. This can be said for both teams since they were 0-2. This will be the first time Arrow picked it up.
He actually went pretty versatile previous week. Bringing out that Kog'Maw, looking at the Twitch, Caitlyn, the Varus, making sure he got just about anything he could feel comfortable on. So he's going to go, like you said, first one for Xayah here. We'll see if he finds that comfort. The Olaf does get picked up as we see the Gragas on the other side. And we'll go into ban phase 2 here to see what Cloud9 can start focusing down for Phoenix1.
Yeah, I do find the Olaf pick a little bit interesting, mainly when you have junglers like Lee Sin still available, and Contracts is so skilled at that champion, plus the utility you'd be able to bring with the Thresh. Olaf, a much more straightforward champion, potentially wants it just to run down Xayah in that bottom lane, since she is a dashless marksman, and while she can go untargetable, Olaf will be right there waiting when she comes back down. But pretty confident pick there to go with Olaf instead of Lee Sin.
So Rio's getting focused in the mid lane. He does have that Ori, that Ahri, quite a few things to pick. They take out Talia from Jensen. She hasn't actually had the play on that just yet, but still know that is a pretty formidable pick for him.
Yeah, you can see since neither team is locked in mid laners, and because the pick like Gragas can technically flex between top lane and jungle, it's pretty much the sole thing these guys are looking to ban out. C9 have the ability to still get that last pick mid, so they're banning out the most powerful thing into Syndra, and with Syndra banned, Talia actually becomes a very good blind pick, which is I think why Phoenix1 decided to ban it there.
Like the ban onto Shen, takes away protection for Arrow, lane control for Zig, and also might help to solidify where that pick goes for Phoenix1. Right? They may have been thinking that that Shen, they could flex it, but now it may just be in that jungle. 7 seconds left for them.
Just making sure they're taking away the power picks there for Phoenix1.
Whoa, I like it. The Lucian ban, as we've been seeing him mid a little bit more, been a nuisance in that sense.
Yeah, I actually hope that Jensen locks in the Orianna here. I feel like it's one of his best champions, and C9 performs so well when he is on it. Plus, I feel like Orianna fits really well into split pushing compositions because she can disengage very well, as well as having that kill threat every time she's with the squad. So a very strong pick there for Jensen.
They already have safety picked up for Shady. Some more kill potential coming in from Ryu on the Ahri.
Yeah, one thing you need to try and lock down when you're going up against a Kennen, if you can't necessarily match it with a lane counter pick, if Zig doesn't have anything ready for that, you need the rest of your team to be able to collapse on the split push so they can never set it up properly. And that's what I feel like P1 would be trying to do with these last few picks. Once again, Inori doesn't necessarily play Lee Sin, which could be another reason for the Olaf to be taken away.
Right.
Instead, opts for Kha'Zix. But a lot of things in that team composition for Phoenix1 can collapse on a split-pushing Kennen and try and shut that down. So a lot of onus will be on the rest of C9, the four-man squad, to make things happen if Phoenix1 try and make those collapses. Ooh, could they be swapping around the Kennen to the bottom lane and doing a full switcheroo? They do.
Oh. The Kennen support coming in from Smoothie. And we're going to get the Olaf in the jungle. Ray will take that Jarvan to the top lane.
Yeah, it's the bot lane.
Kennen, I'm sorry, AD carry.
Yeah, exactly.
For
Sneaky and Smoothie, both start with S. It's an easy thing
as they have
to mix up. Something that Fnatic definitely shows the most success with. Normally, Reckless seems like the only one who can do the bot lane Kennen. Don't often do this, but you could scout this pick. Sneaky played it last night on stream, as obviously, for the bot lane Kennen.
But it away.
It is an interesting switcheroo, right? Because Phoenix1, I felt like, was trying to make generally picks that would be able to stop that split-pushing top lane Kennen. And we're just so used to, with the bans going through to Kennen, seeing it as the top lane for any team that's not named Fnatic. But C9 try and mix it up a little bit here and still get a lot of physical damage from the top lane on the Jarvan. So that last second switch up, I really want to see how that plays in the laning phase up against the Karma and Xayah lane.
So Cloud9 coming into week 2. A little bit of back and forth. I'd say some chess. Getting a little hop there. Back and taking away a few of Phoenix1's picks and making them their own. The Orianna was a good lock-in, but Ryu still gets the Ahri. It'll be a great matchup to watch in that mid lane. And we were saying, let's watch the bot. Is Arrow going to be able to step up? Is Sneaky and Smoothie going to be able to? And now we have a Kennen Thresh versus Xayah Karma.
Yeah, and the Xayah isn't necessarily a super long-range marksman that can punish Kennen super heavily in lane. So just because the Kennen is going bot lane doesn't mean you can't build the Blade of the Ruined King, Hurricane, and still be a split-push threat. So really curious to see how C9 decides to utilize this pick.
All right, so we have Arrow's Xayah first here, NALCS. Sneaky's first Kennen, NALCS.
Wow. And he's been in the NALCS since summer split of 2013.
Quite a while. We'll see if it fits into the way of his play style. It's very aggressive here from Cloud9. So once we get out of this laning phase, fights be quite abundant.
Yeah, that's not to say the laning phase doesn't have a huge influence on this game. Remember, Arrow and Shady, 5 deaths before 15 minutes just last week. Far higher than they're going to need with Arrow, supposed to be that reliable carry who's always in the right position. Not working out that way last week.
That was very true. You know, Arrow to be somebody who, like you said, has that good position, which leads into the team being able to do more around him during a fight, or not even have to think about him. And one less thing, he was really able to provide safety and comfort for the team in his bot lane position. They're getting a little damage onto Sneaky to start things off. Both are starting Doran shields. The only difference is Ray and his corrupting potion to Zig's start on that as well. Keep a focus on Sneaky and what he decides to level.
Yeah, curious to see the accelerated jungle starts as well. Both guys trying to get good pulls. If Zig could steal this, if he would have been a little bit more patient, the Q would have done. I felt like it would have stacked up long enough to take some of those Raptors away. He does get some experience, though, which prevents Contracts from hitting level 2 exactly when he wants to. And that actually really hurts because you want to be using Vicious Strikes on the red buff once you get low health in the jungle, and Contract's unable to do that. So he gets very low, where he doesn't necessarily want to, but he's Olaf. He should be fine with this Smite and continue on jungling.
Got it, pushing the lane by Arrow and Shady here, so Contracts ending on the bot side. May be able to pay off if they have not reset the lane.
Yeah, the biggest fear for Contracts would be that they didn't early scout where Nori was, so Contracts would have had a threat of getting killed at blue buff. That's why he actually warded over the wall there, you can see on the minimap. But Nori, nowhere to be found, just doing his own big camp route. No Smite, but should be all right.
So a little invade with your usual blast cone denial. Shady going over and making sure they can get that so Contracts doesn't make his way over the wall. And back to a pretty reset lane. So P1 playing that nicely. No CS to be missed, and they come back to a fresh lane here. Smoothie trying to grab brush control. Looks like Gromp is the last thing for Contracts. Should bring him pretty low here. See if they actually try anything off it.
Yeah, minion wave pretty big right now for that hook to land. So because Phoenix1 had the shove, Shady doesn't really care if he gets hooked there. Speaking a little bit to that Olaf in the jungle, though, it could have been disastrous if P1 actually decided to invade a little bit more, but did not have the push in mid lane, so couldn't guarantee that Rio would collapse first. Otherwise, I feel like the events we saw with stealing the Raptors away could have been punished, but as of the way the game played out, did not matter.
Contracts with his first bit of roam in for a ward. They do see him, so knowledge once again is P1. Every time they've kind of pushed this lane up. We saw it as well when Shady was playing the Lulu in week 1. He would roam, find a Nori. They would become a power couple and kind of get back to lane. Here they can't have
a lot of damage on Smoothie
to stray from, as Smoothie down to 200 HP. Summoners held on both sides, but it is exhaust to ignite. And that kill pressure is on the side of C9.
Yeah, Smoothie still with the biscuit. Not going to want to go all in until he's got a little bit more health, though. So the poke, pretty strong for Phoenix1 down in that bottom side early, giving them shove in the lane, but not much happening outside of that as Contracts and Nori have pretty much just been hard farming.
36 to 27 in the mid lane. As you saw, Ryu had quite a few minions to pick up. And this should just be a quick push up for Zig. He's got a little bit of a lead there. 9 or 10 minions for himself.
Yeah,
so good on the Gragas to hold that lane.
Definitely been out shoving, and as much as the Raptor steal can put a jungler behind, it actually really helps the top laner too, because it guarantees that he can get level 2 first, especially as someone with the shove power of Gragas. So he's had that shove the entire early game. Goes back, gets double thorns. I mean, it's going to be near impossible for him to actually pressure Zig in that lane.
Right. Talk about pressure. He gets to walk back. He may force Ray's flash if he's able to get a good push next time. Bot is just trading back and forth between the CS, and this is how Sneaky gets himself back up to just about par here. And there's going to be 37 to 37. Nicely done in that aggression once they got themselves off the turret. As Ray finally gets this lane to sway for himself, but that's going to call a Nori to the top as we have Contracts mid.
Yeah, if you're going to gank the Ahri as Olaf, you want to go before level 6. Not much doing there, but also not much lost aside from his position there. That's why Ray is smartly kind of running back to his turret, since they don't have eyes on the Kazakhs. Both teams playing this early game fairly conservatively.
Only leaving lane if they know they're safe. And there's that teleport actually coming in from Ray. It's only level 6 is just now, maybe too early for the play from Zig, but he does have lane control here, and that may pay off for the team if they go red side jungle to get something in here on the Contracts.
Yeah, and I mean, the team that's going to help him shove the wave back out of his turret, but I still don't see a world in which he actually pressures Zig that hard unless Zig takes some really bad trades in lane. That's allowing a lot of freedom there. Look at the ward on the red buff. That'll pay some pretty big dividends because Contract started there, so they should see him pretty clearly when he goes for that.
It's all about putting things in place. Will Ryu have that push? Will Zig be ready for it if red comes up? Right now, a lot of love from Smoothie and the team down towards the bot side of mid. Is, like you said, that 6 is pivotal for Ryu, and they wanted to shut him down just before he got it. Too late, though. Much too late.
Also, I do find it interesting to point out whenever you have a Cloud Drake as the first spawn in the game, it's a harder to kill Drake than the other ones because it does more damage, but Control Ward!
Contracts in a good spot to keep this one going. The Resolve tries to get onto Contracts. Right to the wall goes Arrow, but he cannot get the flash over the heal. And he still goes down.
Yeah,
First blood.
Great play by Smoothie right there. The patience in lane, knowing that he needed to deny Arrow from getting into flash range for that wall. Nori and Shady, they're going to try and stop this steal.
This is that teleport Zig still has. Contracts to flash over the wall with the lantern. And they get Contracts to safety. Looks like they're just going to do some ward clearing here as C9 skips out.
Oh, man. Phoenix1 thought they had that kill dead to rights. The teleport actually completes for Zig, which is really unfortunate. Gonna watch this kill one more time, though. Arrow definitely a little bit further up than he needed to be since he didn't have the jungler in his back pocket. Well converted kill by C9. Stacking the cannon stun after the play to again deny the movement, so nice way to get that first kill.
Team wants to come back, get some basic vision down, and C9 had done that a few steps sooner. It's as easy as the first blood right there onto Arrow. It is going over to Contracts, get his jungle spiced up a little bit more. Now he gets to go ahead and take that top side that was warded. His red is no longer a problem, and that pressure was pretty much diffused of Zig having the teleport up now. Ray returns to lane, keeps that CS just about even. So C9 staving off the first bit of aggression there, really creating their own and then dodging out, I should say.
Yeah, just a good control ward, and it also relieved pressure on the top side,
Yep.
which is almost more than they could ask for.
Trade off to Ryu. He can try to control mid against Jensen now. Just has the lost chapter for himself.
He's kind of losing control of that mid lane, too. I mean, none of the ganks looked very lethal, but a lot of them did apply a weird amount of pressure. It kind of allowed Jensen to get free poke. It kept Ryu from ever going aggressive on him, and now you're seeing this. I mean, once the wave gets to Jensen's turret, it's still going to be about a 12 CS lead, as well as a pretty big item advantage for Jensen, getting a clean base off while Ryu still got to go back with that 1,500 gold.
Oh, see, they're doing it again, right? Yeah. Basic vision, that's what they need to get, but P1 doesn't even want to place that tri-brush now.
Yeah, well, they've lost the tempo on this, and they can't necessarily go in on a level 7 cannon. If they face check anywhere, they will get CC chained by the cannon into a Thresh, Hook, and Flay. And they're already down flashes on Shady, so it's extremely dangerous for them to get any type of pressure in this bottom side. Even though they had pressure in top side, they lost that when they lost the teleport advantage with Zig. So Arrow and Shady actually in a really bad place in this lane, and C9 can take a lot of advantage off this, whether it's the Drake or whether it's setting up a dive in the bottom.
Ooh, they try for the low hook.
They're going anyway.
Contracts is coming in. They throw in the slicing Maelstrom, and that's going to be Shady. Getting cut out of the fight right away, and Nori just has to watch from the side. Contracts tries to push it in with Jensen calling for a dive on the fight, but it was only a little dive. They just wanted that extra kill. Shady going down, and they back off.
But I gotta ask, what is Shady doing taking that fight? They have no vision in the river. He's down his flash. They're against a really threatening amount of CC chain, and they just die for it. I mean, this is a continuation of some of their struggles from week 1 showing through again in this game.
Ray as well, able to create a little pressure on the top side now. If there were an advantage, trying to push that as the blue buffs. Jensen already gets back to mid to hold his lead and continue to farm the lane. And we'll see this one more time in the bot.
Yeah, I mean, Arrow got a good amount of poke on his Sneaky, which is kind of why they're up there, but they can easily take these minions where they may. They're going to push into the lane. Shady up really far, walks into basically melee range of the cannon to get the ult off very easily, and then Arrow has to burn his flash as well when Jensen arrives from Fog of War and Channel Shockwave, so another win there for C9.
Quickly going down to Nori just on the backside. Might have made that seem a little safer, but the 4 members of C9 acting much faster, creating that early game. Something that P1 would usually have in their favor up to 15 minutes with a few thousand gold lead on their opponents. Now, C1 in the driver's seat, or C9 in the driver's seat, I should say. and mix up the names. But P1 still trying to get into the jungle, get these wards down, and stop the snowball.
Yeah, and it's tricky. You can see at least there when they saw C9 recalling, they fixed one of the things that was giving them the most problems in the early game, which was any control over the river or in the blue side of C9's jungle, because that's where C9 was really taking control of the game. So buddying up with Inori and Shady with the Sightstone, they get a bunch of wards in that side of the jungle in hopes of relieving some pressure. The problem with that, though, is they're still down 30 CS, so if they're going to try and convert anything on that, it's going to have to be a teleport play where they don't have any pressure. I mean, at the least, it allows them to take trades in lane without suffering more casualties, but it doesn't actually get them out of this bad situation they're in.
Ready with some good damage. You see Zig can't stay in those fights too long if they go over the extended. I'm just looking at what P1 could possibly do to maybe find some picks as well. Sieges don't become easy for them, trying to get under the turret on an Orianna or a Thresh and Kennen. They're going to lock you up. Jarvan can just get away. It's going to be interesting. These wards in the jungle have to pay off for some charm picks, or if they can find it with Shady roaming around. So far, he's been locked into lane now. Like I said, in previous games in week 1, we saw Shady roaming with a Nori that slowed down. The way that P1 would find themselves a lead has kind of been cut out. First turret going over to C9 as well. They really haven't seen any pressure back yet from P1.
Yeah, and they have been relentlessly focusing this bottom side with jungle attention, as well as some great play by Sneaky and Smoothie, and they're attacking P1 right where they're supposed to be strongest. I mean, remember, Arrow was the MVP last split, and he can't get out of lane.
Ooh, evasive maneuvers coming in from Arrow, but again finds himself a little too far forward, going for vision, as the team just continues to lose it towards that bottom side of the map.
Yeah, and that was where they did technically have vision of the river, and they were hoping the contracts had gone for a recall, but another pre-15-minute death by this bottom lane. Arrow and Shady, 100% of the deaths for Phoenix1, and most of the advantages by C9 have been gained there.
There's two sides to it, right? It's the fact that, wow, yeah, we're getting camped, but then you have to realize, yeah, wow, we're getting camped, this needs to switch up. Even the pressure of a Nori isn't stopping C9 from wanting to continuously go for those dives.
Exactly, and you can see Arrow right here pushing up, almost kind of greeting for CS and Vision. They saw C9 kill the turret. The only thing you're trying to do there is kill the control ward, but at least wait for your support. There should be no rush on that play. If they did recall, then there's time for them to come back to lane anyway. So Arrow and Shady just not on the same page, and neither of them are individually making the smartest decisions, and they're paying the price.
So Ryu back to mid. We haven't seen much from him yet. Still shining light here if Ryu can pop off, get a few kills. P1 obviously still in this. But right now, Arrow and Shady are having a hard time making something work for the bot lane. Zig as well. Still teleport play to be made. It seemed like P1 was on the road to having the advantage in pressure before he had to blow that teleport early in the game. Since then, C9 has really had their number. Vision still pushed in for C9 as it encroaches farther and farther in the jungle of P1.
Yeah, I think C9 is playing this game very well. They're playing around the playmaking of their bottom lane, and they have a bunch of playmaking left on the rest of the team. I mean, thinking of Jarvan, Orianna, that is playmaking in itself, and this bottom lane is not going to relent unless they have to. They have deep wards. They just saw Inori at Raptors, so they're going to push.
I wouldn't be surprised with the way C9's playing this, that it actually stays a low-kill game, and C9's able to kind of just face P1 at each turret. P1 doesn't initially take the fight, and we see C9 getting objectives without kills. There is going to be the Cloud Drake going down finally 15 minutes in, as C9 feels like they have pushed enough for the moment, and they will be back soon.
Yeah, I mean, after a 0-2 week at the start of summer, this is how you want to come out at the start of week 2. They're playing a controlled style. They found an advantage in the bot lane. They did a switcheroo in the draft to kind of surprise Arrow with that bottom lane Kennen pick. It looks like it's very well prepared. They have kind of abandoned this top side of the map to do so, though, and it's to P1's detriment that they didn't try and take advantage of that with an early advantage on Gragas, as well as an Ahri pick that has a lot of kill pressure on whatever it goes up against. So now they're going for that Rift Trail at the very least and should be able to get it.
Woo. If only. If they only knew. So we see Zig having to back here. So Zig doesn't really get a choice with bot lane going down. Sneaky and Smoothie are going to be in his lane. Arrow and Shady have to respond to that as well. Create that bot lane top now. And we'll see with the lane push already going in, Ray has done work. He gets to roam. And Cloud9 has so many options now to start making extra things happen.
Yeah, Ray just taking away some cheeky Raptors as he wants to. Inori's going to have to find a good spot for this Rift Herald. P1 would love to be able to get a pick first. They don't have amazing initiation. They just have the Gragas and the Ahri. Ahri just used ultimates, so pretty much you're hoping Inori could help out Zig in some situation, get a kill on someone, and then pull the Rift Herald. Because if they use the Rift Herald in a lane that has a lot of minions, they're not going to get anything out of it. Ray, though.
Oh, Ray going right to the back line. Props to Jensen as well for continuing the command dissonance moves. He still has ult if they need it. Uses it there for the kill onto Zig. And the pressure to Inori here. Shady's looking to come in for the shields, but he's put himself in a bad situation as Contracts goes for the undertow kill. And Shady falls coming in for protection. A double kill for Jensen.
An absolute disaster from Phoenix1 right there. C9 get everything they could want and more. Jensen dominating in the mid lane. They continue pressure up in the top side. Sneaky's going to get that one after an extended amount of auto attacks up there. I mean, C9 is dominating P1 right now.
Huge collapse towards the mid lane.
Oh, man.
Q taking a lot of damage. After Jensen did that with one Q and W towards the mid lane, and then he did it 2 more times, and that was the reason they were able to take mid. Yeah, so I was wrong about more kills coming in with the turrets. It's both going to happen. We'll see this again.
Yeah, well, they already knew they had the ultimate down from Ryu, so Ray just has to deal with the flash, knows he gets it out, the charm misses, he can go in right away. And then this highly questionable teleport completion by Zig. He has rushed a Frozen Heart as his first item. That gives him no defenses against Jensen's Orianna, who is level 13 with blue buff, still has Shockwave, so he deletes him. And then Shady just adding insult to injury right there, coming in late and also giving another kill over.
Think of a situation for Zig where you'd be up against a Jarvan. If bot lane won, you'd be up against the Kennen. But the Frozen Heart would be great, unless you put yourself then, in, like you said, in front of the AP damage.
Yeah, the one person he didn't itemize to go against, he teleports boldly in the face of while he has 3 people supporting him.
He is actually pushed up quite far. Zig is in no man's land at the moment. They actually just got a ping on him as well. Bot lane being pushed by Ray here. They're going to need to respect that as he's getting close to the turret, but he's going to be routed by Ray. And that could turn out bad for him.
I mean, they're just desperately trying to get that 1 kill so that they can use the Rift Herald before it expires, which is going to expire pretty quick, and maybe get a turret. But we could actually be seeing a Glimpse of the Void buff that doesn't get anything. I mean, I could actually see P1 so far push back in this because they lost all their other turrets. They're not even going to be able to summon the Rift Herald near a turret. So C9 could kill it before it even gets a charge off.
That would be a first. Ray, flag and drag out. And it looks like he makes his way to safety. Not even going to leave, though. His pressure is so necessary in the bot lane right now to keep this up. Almost a slicing Maelstrom to start things off on a Ryu. 1 charm saves his life. But how much will it save of their jungle? Now that C9 gets to go from top to mid to bot just through the middle, means P1 has to go all the way back to base to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Does take a little bit of damage. Ryu,
a little bit,
not really itemized where he'd want to be. Finally, as it's about to expire, Inori pops it down in the base. Here's a situation where C9 do have to recall with Sneaky. So they got something. They didn't get a kill, but they at least took Sneaky off the map temporarily. They're gonna hope this Rift Herald goes up, but look at this. They have to abandon it. Nothing out of Rift Herald. This is the low value of the buff if you do not have a lead. C9 is playing this so well. They're just starving P1 out.
You coming back from a 0-2 week, 7-0, 5-0 in turrets, 21 minutes in with just about a 10,000 gold lead right now. It's definitely how you want to play it.
Woo! And definitely not how you want to play it if you're P1. I mean, this is a team who was trying to compete with the C9 TSM top 2 reputation last split. And a lot of questions are going to be thrown away. You know, even though Era was playing poorly and Ryu didn't have pressure mid lane, but a lot of the questions are going to be thrown the way of Inori and Shady. Because those are the 2 players that were in substitute positions last split, in the fact that we saw a lot of Meteos and Adrian and Stunt in those 3 positions. to a lot of Phoenix1 success. And Shady, I mean, you look at his game record all time on Phoenix1, 5-11, so never really finding that much success, aside from the best-of-5 victory they had in the third place match over FlyQuest. That was about the peak for P1 Shady, and another poor performance here against C9.
The tight decisions at the end of a fight seem to be where Shady is making some of his most mistakes. We saw one there in the mid, but his protection for Arrow seems to be the way they put him on utility champions, and what he can do for Arrow seems to maybe be the speculation, the choice for having him in there. That bot lane, as you said though, having a bit of trouble this season with focus from other teams, but also not being able to adjust to that focus, knowing it's going to be happening each game.
Yeah, absolutely. Very low amounts of jungle pressure, but the credit also has to go to C9, right? Contracts,
for sure,
always in the right place. C9 never giving openings. I mean, they are on their way to a perfect game if they can suffer any casualties here. No turrets have fallen. I mean, depending on if you feel like giving up the Rift Herald would break the perfect game. It's kind of a new thing we've added to our definitions of such, but C9 looking really strong.
All right, Ray getting caught. What does this allow the rest of the team to do? P1 thinks of that as well, and they say, let's not lose too much pressure in mid. A charmed up Contract down to half HP. It makes it a little bit harder to ult into a fight with the confidence of your team behind you. But Jensen's doing a very nice job at getting this dissonance damage in. That blue buff on Orianna, you need to be continuously throwing your ball in.
Yeah, and also just point out once again, we are on the most recent patch right now, 7.11. The Banshee's spell was changed in that patch to go up to 60 magic resist. So Jensen, as he's chunking Ryu there for half his health, is still running around with 121 magic resist when he has the ball on him.
Also get to mitigate some damage with a shield if you want. It's pretty nice. The shield could be on Contracts for Ray though, starting off one of these fights. Arrow, they continue to find Ray. Right now he's just playing Ring Around the Rosie in the jungle with P1. While C9 goes and circles around, makes sure Baron has vision, and they are going to be able to take it 24 minutes in. TP coming in from Zig.
They're doing everything they can.
All out, go for broke.
They'd have to go right now. They didn't get it.
Oh, he was denied vision on the immediate entry with a ward. Shady goes down to about 200 HP. Contract's very low, but looks like he'll live with no follow-up damage. Ryu can't get the charm. The Orb of Deception misses, and Contract heals back up. And now they are running down. Arrow going for base. Looks like they will get Ryu out towards the top side of the map here, as the rest of C9 will push down top.
Yep, casual 12,000 gold lead, 25 minutes in. I mean, Phoenix1 consistently just kind of behind the stage of the game. Not much they can do once they're down 10,000 gold and C9 does go for Baron. So C9, since they did get pretty locked, that's going to take the turret, get a healthy recall, and then probably try and push to end. It depends on how willing they are to dive turrets.
The game at this point becomes so difficult as well for P1, because it's not like you have any time for a minion wave to pass river. They're always bouncing back from every turret you haven't dropped yet. You always have to be worried about a giant wave. Now they're Baroned up, and we'll see what P1 tried to do here as C9 takes Baron.
Yeah, I mean, Zig kind of waits for the rest of his team, does his best to go with Ryu to try and get something done, but Ryu can't get past Contracts. And you watch Jensen over on the side of the fight, basically just pushing off completely Arrow and Inori along with Ray. So they didn't get fatal damage on them, but they did make it so they couldn't enter the fight. And that's all C9 was really worried about. Nice lantern there by Smoothie.
Items on items here. Gargoyle stone plates. And for more, almost one on Ray as well, as Contracts already has his. So these guys aren't going to be going down to Ryu's damage. Jensen already has his magic resist. The Dory dancing around. Good to see they're in decent spirits after this first one. There is a game 2 to go, and that can easily go either way. Here's C9 though, putting up a great fight as they start week 2. 8-0, starting on the inhibitor turrets.
Yeah, I mean, P1 doesn't want to dive in. Contracts is huge.
Focus Resolve not going to do much. He is on to Arrow. Feathers are called back by Arrow as well. They're going over for Zig. Zig could go down very quickly, but it's going to be Contracts first if they can get a few more shots. There's the command protect in from Jensen, and these kills are just limping away. P1 doing a nice job, though, at not overstepping and getting themselves caught going for these kills. Trying to protect the base.
How much does C9 want to try and preserve the shutout? Because that's pretty much all that's going to dictate this one. They're going pretty hard right here.
Oh, Ray's got it in mind, but he's taking the turret for the team, even with enough minions. 22 seconds on Zig here. Cloud9 looks like they're staying for the long haul, at least for a few more kills. If they can get one, they'll go for everything, if not already.
Yeah, still have Sneaky's ultimate as a peel if P1 try and engage, but the wise thing to do is to back away as they are doing.
That moment when somebody takes the lantern, you should have gotten. You have to double back to make sure everybody gets out safe. Zig is up. They have waves to be pushed, so no question for what P1 needs to do right now. Cloud9 has a free map. They should be able to come back and grab this Ocean Drake as they have 2 clouds to their name to go super fast around the map. And 54,000 to 39 now. Keep that perfect game going.
Yeah, it does feel like the game is stretching a little bit, but that's because Cloud9 is just playing very clean, and Phoenix1 isn't doing anything that would accelerate the game by going over aggressive, as you said. So Zig trying to be frontline a little bit, maybe protect the turret. It doesn't actually take C9 that much time to burn through him, despite having the Frozen Heart and the Spirit Visage, just because C9 is so far ahead of the item curve. I mean, just look at Jensen's items right now. He's a full 4,000 gold ahead of Ryu in this game because of all the objective gold they have with 8 turrets as well as the 4 kills. So just total domination by C9, and they're playing it actually very conservatively here, but closing out in a good way.
Extra pocket change for elixirs as you see the iron onto Ray. So you know they're putting the money into that instead of next items. They are ready to put the finishing touches on this game. Let's just see where the movement is from. They have a good split with minions in the bot lane. They're actually pulling P1 out of the base. Interestingly enough, P1's going to bite a little bit here. We'll see how much this gives C9.
Yeah, just using the map split to get Sneaky more free time. I mean, this is the way you kind of use the split push Kennen, so to speak, even though they're using him as a bot laner. He's fed enough now that it doesn't matter what lane he started in, the champion's going to do the same things.
I can't remember what team it was, and they picked the Kennen as well, and Duke won, but they're like, it's having another Ashe in a side lane. You just clear waves, continuously go, and you have a chance to stun somebody. Well, they're using it quite well here, and Sneaky's first play of Kennen in the LCS is C9. Looks to stave off the losses they have been finding here in the summer split. Going on the second Nexus turret, P1 with the last-ditch effort, just a body slam from Zig. Oh, dear. The slicing Maelstrom goes down, but so does Ryu immediately. Before Summoners, Zig's gonna be the next one that falls. The Nexus turret goes along, the triple kill for Jensen as 2 members of P1, Arrow and Anori, find solace on the base, and a perfect game 1 to Cloud9 over P1.
Only took 29 minutes, but it felt like they were just walking over Phoenix1 the whole time. If people were questioning whether the sky was falling for C9 after that first week, this should be a small answer in the other direction that is absolutely fine. For Phoenix1, though, that's a devastating way to open up week 2 after already losing both games. We mentioned beforehand, both of these teams hoping to avoid that 0-3 start. And C9 off to a resounding start in this series.
Silver lining back on that cloud. Now more impressive would be C1 or P1. I'm going to do that all day now. See P1 bounce back even harder. Sometimes you see that when a game sways so hard, the other team switches it up and they're able to do the same thing with good picks from the other side. But that was dominating from Cloud9, so I don't know if I can say the same.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one lane for Phoenix1 had a small advantage early, and that's because Zig was able to steal Raptors, and that was immediately given away when he teleported down. Other than that, C9 didn't give P1 any options. They just destroyed them that game. Vision control, pick, good draft, like everything was clicking there.
Very aggressive team that had to fight as well to get things done. They got the kills, they were able to disengage, and everything clicking for C9 here to start out on week 2. For more on that shutout from Cloud9, let's send it over to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Rivington. Wow. Okay, so Cloud9, you actually want to give you props. You said C9, maybe they don't improve as much over time, but they're clearly a top-end team. P1 maybe a bit slower to start. And yeah, Cloud9 wiped the floor with Phoenix1. They're down to ashes. Hopefully they can rebirth before it's time for game 2 because, my lord, C9 smashed them.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those games where you can talk about the draft and talk about this, but what it really comes down to is play. And anytime you have, as we'll get into later, a potentially perfect game,
almost perfect game,
it doesn't come down to draft when a situation like that happens. So, like, yeah, there's a lot of interesting flex picking going on. The Gragas could have gone jungle for P1. Obviously, the Kennen on the side of C9 goes down in the bot lane. You get some cool draft stuff, but the most important thing, too, is the gameplay.
Yep, and gameplay, we have Smoothie is insane at League of Legends, this hook. And by the way, Contracts is coming down at the exact right time, so that's a bit perfect. And this whole time, Arrow's saving Flash, but never has a way to get through it.
overall, just, a little bit of a risky face check there. What comes after is really impressive for Smoothie. Being able to meet up with contracts after that kill, they're looking for this invade. They overstep a little bit going onto this ward when looking for the red buff, and you get to see the power of Thresh, a champion that isn't super highly prioritized in North America quite yet, and there you see with that Dark Passage coming in, being able to get a 2-for-1 flash, kind of like a Tom Kench, but requiring actual skill to do. Here, you see the just the all-in potential that comes with the Thresh as well. The flaying Shady in, you get the stun with the level 6 cannon, and you get the chain CC because obviously C9 is rotating first in this play, and eventually they're going to keep pushing down this bot lane.
Yeah, and the fact that there was no call and Jensen missing, and then here, they've just got no lane pressure anymore. Arrow wants to put a ward down. Yeah, it's too late, you're dead.
And that's the thing is, like, you can say, okay, Shady's new, how much of it is on Arrow and Shady, but there's obviously some kind of communication issue between these two teams, and Smoothie on your screen abusing that kind of lack of synergy really hard, because clearly he and Smoothie, or he and Sneaky are on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely. And even on a small champ select point, globally, Thresh is the most played support in pro play in the world right now, and it was like 4th or 5th played in North America, and Smoothie, the first support pick of the game is him saying, no, Thresh is the best, let's go, let's play it out. And maybe that's respect for P1's bot lane, I don't know, but it clearly was effective here, so props to him. And just kind of as points to the stats right here, there was, huge leads overall for Sneaky as an individual play. And finally, I want to send us to another replay, the 4-for-0 in the mid lane that just said, okay, well, it's not just the bot lane now, we're smashing everything.
Yeah, and that's kind of the case of this game, where once that bot lane pressure spills over the rest of the map, and Olaf, a champion from ahead who gets absolutely crazy. Ray having a good flank here because they have that bot lane broken open, able to get onto Ryu. The charm just misses, and he gets the ultimate to finish him off. And like we were saying, contracts can just kind of chain CC people, or chain axe people down, and because he is relatively strong abusing that bot lane, he doesn't have to be worried about taking any damage from Minori here at all.
And that TP from Zig was actually pretty bad. Like, there's no way you're supposed to get into that one after your team's already dead. So that was kind of a free kill given away, but this game's snowballed out of control. And it brings me to the topic that I'm actually a little bit more interested in talking about.
Me too.
Is, I know, we were having this debate before we started this segment. What constitutes a perfect game? And we both decided if your opponents take Rift Herald, it is not a perfect game.
Nope.
But you can get some levels underneath that.
Right, so the idea is with a perfect game, you have given up literally nothing, and it should be highly, prized as the best thing you can ever do in a League of Legends game. It's understandable that when a team is losing, they can give something up. They can say, all right, you're going to take our whole base, but we're going to go bot lane and take a turret. And you can't
like
really
top lane outer for Nexus.
Yeah, you can't stop that as the winning team, so you still deserve some credit. And we call it a deathless game, a complete game, a no-hitter, whatever you want to call it, but it's not quite a perfect game.
Yeah, it was at least deathless, and right. The entire scoreboard showed 0, which I think is fitting, which means Baron or Rift Herald was taken by the opponents. But either way, it went all right for them. I want to give a shout out to Smoothie for player of the game. I agreed with that one as well. It's always the caster's call at the end of the day. But opening picks were there. He won the bot lane, not single-handedly. He had a lantern in one hand and hook in the other, and the teammates helped and everything. But clearly, great plays out of him.
And obviously, taking that Thresh early on, you're scared when people do pick the Karma because the barrier of execution and who's supposed to have to actually make the plays to win that matchup is the Thresh. The Karma can shield herself, run around and poke, and potentially win. So you actually have to execute pretty well on the Thresh pick, which is why you see some teams not prioritizing it quite as highly as you would think with the power in the champion. But Smoothie there gets the champion and plays it perfectly. And
it's really interesting, I think, because if you're taking a role where there's high variance in skill on the champions, I think it can, to a certain point, on like a sort of metagame perspective, count how good are the players at this role like in this region. Like if NA has no good supports, it's like, well, everyone's going to play Karma because none of you are good enough to play Thresh. Or if it's like, well, Smoothie's so much better than everyone else, you can play Thresh, smash everyone in your role because no one can touch you, and he gets to be a Thresh one trick and everyone else supposed to play Lulu Karma all the time.
Yeah,
and I think that can work.
The other thing is how long the meta has been Lulu Karma and things like that. So some of the great players might have, kind of slacked in their prep on these kind of execution-heavy playmaking champions. So you see people who are kind of more naturally inclined that way, like an Afromu and a Smoothie kind of shining early on in the season.
So I believe if I heard properly, correct me production if I misheard you, Meteos subbing in for game 2. Oh. Correct, I heard in my ear, so yes, Meteos is coming in. He was speaking the same time as you, so I heard Meteos, so I was like, I think that's what
I'm more important, listen to me.
So Meteos is in for Phoenix1. Go.
And so the reason is because in the draft, I was talking about this, they took the Gragas pick early on, and what's so strong about that pick is the flex to the jungle. But when you have a Nori in the game, he's more of a carry-oriented player and doesn't play the tanks that well. So you leave him in the top side, but the problem is Zig is also great on the Kled and these kind of tricky matchups that he can't quite play if you're early prioritizing tanks like the Gragas. So with Meteos in the game, you are kind of unlocking Zig a little bit because Meteos ends up as the main frontliner.
You can just grab a Jace or something when the Gragas comes through or something
Yeah,
else.
Gragas, Olaf, Zac, all these things, Elise, are straight into Meteos' wheelhouse.
And they're super good. We'll see what happens. Going to be a fun one. Stay tuned. Game 2 is coming up between Phoenix1 and Cloud9. Stick around. Meteos subbing in.
I only have 3 hand warmers.
And one wrist.
Mayday. Thank you. I only have 4 hand warmers. Mayday. Stinky. Stinky.
Get it.
Contracts in a good spot to keep this one going. The Resolve tries to get on the Contracts. Right to the wall goes Arrow, but he cannot get the flash over the...
Combat, he's here. He's here. Car.
I got.
Nice.
Can you bang?
I'm going. That's all I got. That's all I got.
I'm going.
Oh shit. Whoops.
Karma.
Okay.
Karma.
Up to you guys. Up to you guys. Karma. Split box.
Nice.
Mid turret.
Oh, the slicing Maelstrom goes down, but so does Ryu immediately. Before Summoners, Zig's gonna be the next one that falls. The Nexus turret goes along the triple kill. For Jensen, his 2 members of P1, Arrow and Anori, find solace on the base, and a perfect game 1 to Cloud9 over P1.